So let's take a look at Jupyter Notebooks. Jupyter Notebooks and Jupyter Lab, which is basically an interface for working with the notebook files. Each Jupyter Notebook is its own file. It's self-contained, so you can share them with other people. You can do all kinds of things with them. But Notebook is a simpler interface for doing especially data science in Python. And it's easier than PyCharm in some ways. And the big drawback, the thing that bugs me when I'm using Jupyter Notebooks, is the lack of autocomplete, because I really like the autocomplete in PyCharm. So when I start typing something, it just knows what I need, and I can get things done a lot quicker. I make fewer mistakes. But the nice thing about the notebooks is that it's a lot easier to do trial and error and play around with different ideas. And there's a lot of playing around with ideas in data science. So let's take a look at a Jupyter Notebook. And the Jupyter Notebook is pretty easy for us to launch from PyCharm. And PyCharm, by the way, has at least the PyCharm Pro edition. That's the edition that most of you should be using. The community edition is not as useful for this. In fact, I don't think it supports Jupyter Notebooks in this way. But if I go to terminal at the bottom here, and I just type, hang on a second, I think it's still running. Let's terminate that. There we go. Okay, so if I type Jupyter Notebook, just like that, it's going to open up. It switched to my web browser. It switched to Chrome, and it just opened up this window. And I'm going to just create a new notebook. So this window here is the Jupyter Lab, and you can kind of see what's there. But I'm going to create a new notebook. My notebook looks like this when I first start creating it, and you can't do everything in Python in a notebook, but you can do a lot of things. I mean, it understands most regular commands in Python. For example, like print. And when I run that, I get the results right underneath it. And so I can keep that. I can go back up and revise that if I want to and rerun it. But the other thing I can do is I can add a new cell beneath it. And the nice thing about these new cells is that they remember everything that you ran above it. So for example, if I say import random, and I want to print a random integer, random dot rand int 0 1000. Okay, so if I run that code, oops, what did I not do here? Oh, I forgot to close my parentheses. What a terrible instructor I am. All right, there it goes. So there's my random integer, and if I run that code again, it gives me a different random integer. So I've imported and used random in this top frame. In this next frame, I can continue using that stuff. In fact, if I wanted to, I could say str name equals Bill up there. And I can use my trusty f string to substitute that in. Okay, so I've got random imported and I've got the str name variable. If I want to, I can say down here, print f str name is random rand int 10 years old. Oops, forgot to close. Man, what is my deal with closing things today? There we go. Bill is 26 years old. So you can see I didn't have to redeclare any variables down here that I use from up here. So the advantage there is that when I'm playing with data science, I can open up a data file and I can just sort of play around with it. I can try stuff out and it allows me to do some interesting things. So if I save this, and I go back to PyCharm, the file is actually right there. So I can actually take that whole notebook and share it with somebody else. And if I share it with you, you can open it and run that same code and see what my process was in developing that code, which makes it really useful for sharing data analysis inside of a company or inside of a group or whatever. So it's really, really useful stuff. And that is Jupyter Notebook and Lab. So data science, that's a primary tool that you'll hear about and use in data science. PyCharm makes it really easy for us to use.